Welcome to another video, guys. I'm finally back from vacation, and now it's time to see what are the best decks right before the new class sets actually come out. Of course, the meta is gonna change after those come out, but it's just class sets, so I doubt it's gonna be that big of a difference. Of course, it is gonna have a decent impact, but still, it is gonna be worth knowing what exactly are the best decks right before it. So in this video, we're gonna check out the 5 best decks, talk about mulligan win rates and general tips, so you guys have a better idea of what you could be playing with, as well as what you're probably playing against. Also, huge thank you to Blizzard for providing me with a couple of class set codes I will be giving out live on stream tonight. And if you want to be eligible to enter, drop a like on the video and leave a comment what you're most excited to try out tonight after class sets come out. After I draw the winner tonight, I will be pinning the winner, so definitely come back to it to check if you actually got lucky. I hope you find the video helpful, and if you do, a like and subscribe would be great, but now let's get into it.
You are not prepared!
Right, the first deck on the list is still gonna be Z Shaman, and not much has changed actually, even though I did receive quite a decent couple of nerfs, with both Galagio Goon going up to a 2-drop, as well as Warden Maiev only being a 1-free. And to be fair, yes, it's a nerf. The big one is on the Goon, if we gotta be honest, but comboed off together, yeah, it's kind of an okay nerf situation, I guess, even though the deck still remains absolutely amazing. Other than that, the rest of the deck looks basically exactly the same as we remember it. Not much has really changed over there, so you can definitely check out my detailed guides about this type of deck. I have several different iterations of it, so yeah, give it a check, see how you like it. But now let's see what the updated matchups are looking like, and here we can see that it's basically nothing but green except for Mug Shaman as well as Egg Warrior, and both of those are not that popular, even though Mug Shaman's still kinda decent. Although for the last few days I think those numbers are actually dropping quite hard, because Mug Shaman got nerfed even harder. So in reality, the deck really does not have any bad matchups, if we gotta be completely honest. Mulligan-wise, here's what we have. Of course, you're still gonna be looking for your good 1s and 2s, and Galagio Goon still seems to be very, very keepable. Warden Maiev still absolutely amazing, apparently, and the rest is gonna be just the 0s, 1s, and 2s. If you're curving into the Hijacked or the Slack Cloud, those can also be a consideration, but that's something more of a you're gonna be doing on turn 2 type of stuff, so here's what that's gonna be looking like. Again, Maiev and Goon, the best. The rest, 1s and 2s, and again curving into these, not the worst. For other good Shaman decks, this is the one I'm showing you. 62% win rate almost, with almost 1,000 games, even though we have a much more represented list with 11,000 games and a 60 plus win rate. Still, this one has almost 2% more win rate. Even though the sample size is much bigger, I'd say this one definitely does look great, but of course you could be trying the version without the curator, which also works very, very well. We also have something called Aggro Shaman with Dreambound Raptor. The sample size for it is not that big, however. Scrolling down further, we can see plenty of other Z's and Aggro Shamans apparently. And going down lower, we can see the win rate is not that impressive anymore. We have Herald Shaman doing okay-ish with very small sample size, and Mug Shaman, like I said, definitely does not look great after that huge nerf it received. On the second spot, we have Corpse Death Knight, and this deck actually has quite the big sample size, quite a few different iterations, and very decent win rate, so definitely nothing to scoff at. And this deck kinda worked before the patch, but now it really did skyrocket in power and popularity, and for good reason. The deck is using some of the new cards with things like Tower of Ghouls, but that's kinda all there is about the new stuff, aside from Maiev, I guess, and the Corpse Cannon too. The rest is basically standard Corpse Death Knight stuff, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of deal. We do have the Grave Strength in here, and having to run triple Unholy definitely doesn't feel great, because there are a few pretty good cards you could be slapping into a deck like this, but costing you the Grave Strength is just too big of a setback, so you can't really go that route, I guess. Matchup wise, we don't really have too much stats on this one. We can check out a similar variant with lower win rate but much bigger sample size, so might as well do that. And here we can see again plenty of green stuff, aside from Azalina Priest, aside from Mug Shaman, which again you're not going to be able to see much, and Dragon Warriors is going to be a 50-50, but nothing too crazy. And as for the mulligan, of course you're going to try and curve out with your good 1-2-3s, and basically anything under 2 mana is going to be a very good keep. Curving it to Falric, Acolyte of Death, or Reluctant Traveler can also be great, and heck, even curving it Tower of Ghouls might be worth, even though probably not that great. On the coin, however, again, anything 3 mana or less would be a good keep, and curving into something like a tower, like a Talanji's Last Stand, could be worth it as well. As for other good Death Knight decks, this is the one I'm showing you you 59% win rate with almost 1000 games, but we also have this one 57% with almost 5000 games, which is very, very close to this one. But again, it is just a Corpse Death Knight. Other than that, we can check out some other versions of Death Knights with the Sawbones, which is doing pretty good. And this deck is actually pretty strong, but also very, very hard to pilot well. So there's that. We also have Egg Death Knights, which is kind of crazy that this deck is not running the Egg, by the way, but I guess. We also have Herald Death Knight, looking not impressive as always, and that's about it for the class. Spot number 3 goes down to Attack Druid, and this is a deck I have not seen before I went on vacation. I mean, we did kind of see some versions here and there of it, but nothing that really worked too well. But now, after the latest patch, apparently it is actually looking pretty good. The buffs both to Infest the Scullery as well as Staff of Trickery definitely made this deck feel a lot better, and right now the win rate for it is much bigger than it used to be. It does run quite a few other new cards with things like Spiderlings, like the Spider Rider, and all of those attack cards like Widow's Bite and so on and so forth, the secret ingredient. And yeah, it's a nice little fresh deck that actually emerged after the latest patch, so definitely worth checking out. A very good win rate, very good sample size. Matchup wise, here's what we have right now. Z Shaman is not going to be your friend, which is a big setback for this type of meta. Mirifra Druid can also be a little bit negative, which in top legend you're probably going to see a little bit more of. And also Quest Hunter, not your best friend, but the rest looks good. And when it comes down to mulligans, going first, you are always going to be looking for your Spiderling, of course. The Felwood Treant's amazing, the Spider Rider as well, especially after you've already had the Spiderling. Staff of Trickery can be amazing too. Wave Shaping, Press the Advantage can help. Heck, even things like Secret Ingredient, Innervate, and you could even cheat out stuff with Horn of Plenty. On the coin, again, Spiderling, absolute MVP, outlier type of cards. Felwood Treant again top tier, the Staff, the Spider Rider, it's kind of the same deal really, but here I guess Infest the Scullery as well as a Midrasil or Wicker Fang can also be pretty worth it, especially with Innervate, especially with things like Felwood Treant. For other good Druid decks, arguably we could also talk about Mirifra Druid here, but as you see we have several different iterations with small sample sizes but also a very good win rate, and again this is a deck top legend players are going to do much better with if they know how to play it, but we can also see plenty of different attack druids at the top, and this is the one I'm showing you, almost 2000 games, above 57% win rate, definitely decent, not top broken tier, but definitely pretty fresh and new and strong. Other than that, we can scroll down further, see some other iterations of these decks, but things like Chef Druid, still not that impressive if we gotta be honest. Here we have a small sample size, not very good win rate type of deck, and scrolling down further, it's not really looking too great either. Spot number 4 goes down to Quest Hunter, and this is an interesting version of Quest Hunter I haven't seen before, but again I haven't been in the game for a while, so there's that. And here we do have all of the good Quest Hunter stuff I showed you in a video not too long from now, but we also have things like King of the Underbelly as well as Watfin, which both are looking kind of interesting. Cool thing about Watfin is he is a beast and he's only 2 mana, but he does tick off the free attack for you, and you can also discover a minion out of him. Sometimes you could get lucky enough to actually discover yourself another beast, I guess. That could be pretty worth it. But for the most part, you do have yourself quite a lot of good ways to actually complete the quest quite quick. We have several different 1-drops with Jeweled Macabre, the Platosaur. We also have the Guard Dogs at the free attack margin. The Watfin is also in here. The Ruster Viper. On the 5 attacks, we have King Mukla, as well as Ravasaur Matriarch. And you can also discover yourself other 5 attack minions, namely beasts, with things like Raptor Herald and such. And here it's interesting, we're actually not running the quest that actually gives you Discover Beasts. That one definitely does feel nice here and there, albeit not very reliable to get yourself some fresh holds, but still kind of felt nice. And of course, for 7 drops, we have things like Terra Wing Ravager, as well as the Sand Moss. Once you get your quest completed, you're always gonna get yourself an Agamagam showed for you, so that way you get the maybe even cheat out the Briar Spawn Drake you're straight out running into this deck. You could also cheat out King of the Underbelly, you could also get yourself another Agamagam out of him, or even a Tortola out of him too. So yeah, all around the deck does look interesting. Again, check out my guide about Quest Hunter. It's not that much different from this one, albeit definitely does have a few differences. Matchup wise, here's what we have right now. Z Shaman again not gonna be that great for you, but as a Lena Priest apparently it's gonna be good because they're only gonna get half your stuff, maybe not even the quest, and even if they do get the quest, they're gonna be very unreliable at completing it. And other Quest Hunters, I guess the old version of Quest Hunter, not that great against this one. Here's a more populated matchup section where we get to see it's not gonna be that great against Corpse Death Knight, Face Hunter, Hunter, probably before the patch. Some of the Paladins are not going to be very great for you, that's for sure. Burn Mage is also a little bit too quick. And both Aggro and Z Shaman, Dragon Warrior as well. And for the mulligan, of course, hold on to your quests and look for your good threshold minions like the Guard Dog, like the Watfin, the 1-drops, Mukla can be great, Sanma as well, that kind of stuff. Basically try to complete the quest ASAP. Going second, again, it's literally the same deal, so mulligan accordingly. For other hunters for the last 3 days, this is the one I'm showing you, 58 plus win rate, almost 1000 games, and here we do have a 1000 games plus win rate deck with again 58% plus. And we can scroll down further and see plenty of other versions of it, again, all of which with the King and the Underbelly, so there's that. We can see versions without it. This is the one I reached Legend with, I'm pretty sure, or very close to it actually with Watfin. And we can check out lower and lower. Face Hunter still playable, different iteration of it, however. No longer running things like Tolvir, which is definitely crazy, but also after that nerf, how else would it be? Dragon Hunter kind of playable, but not that amazing. And Companion Hunter still pretty dog water. And the last deck on the list is going to be Aura Paladin, and this deck is just simply strong, very straightforward, and a lot of people are just going to do well with it. It's funny that this deck is actually without Beatrix, so you're only running yourself 2 Scarlet Bruisers instead of 10, but this makes the deck even more consistent at what it does. You of course have yourself still quite a lot of high roll potential with the Bruiser, with the Spearheart Sentry, you have yourself tons of stats with things like Vigilant Sentry, curving into flight maneuvers is absolutely amazing, and this one is a little bit more aura heavy, with things like Sand Fury Aura included. Of course, we have Gelbin with all of his auras. And we also have the heavy hitters like Nasdormu, like Toref, that kind of stuff. We even have room for a single Truth Seeker, which honestly is actually a lot of stats, especially if you cheat this thing out a lot sooner with things like Acceleration Aura. For the matchups, here's what we have right now. Azalina Priest is not going to be great for you, same with Hand Warlock, but most of your matchups are going to be pretty positive, or at least a 50-50, so you should be climbing well with it. And as for the mulligan, when you're going first, you are going to be looking for your good stuff, like Violet Treasure Guild, the Vigilant Sentry, the Righteous Protector, Scarlet Bruiser can be great, the Flight Maneuver straight out is a keep, Acceleration Aura if you don't have the Violet Treasure Guild already, Inspiring Maul could be worth it, especially if you have yourself something like a Spearheart Sentry, or heck even Nasdormu, even though that would be pretty greedy curve, especially when going first. Depending on the matchup, you could even consider Manifest the Time Ways, but I'd say only if you already have the Treasure Guild or the Acceleration Aura straight out. Going second, again, most of it is going to be the same, but here I'd say things like Nasdormu are even more keepable, but the rest kinda same deal. For other good Paladin decks, this is the one I'm showing you, definitely looks pretty strong, with 58 plus win rates, over 1000 games, and we have a different iteration of it, even with something like Vama, which honestly sounds horrible, guys. Like, why the fuck would you run a frickin' 9-drop minion like this in a deck like that? Like, just because you're pure doesn't mean this card makes any frickin' sense in the game right now. Even though I guess we did slow down the meta a bit, I'm still not a huge fan straight out running a card like this in a deck like that. There's even something called Egg Paladin right now, which definitely doesn't look great, but yeah, for the most part, stick with Aura Pally. As for the classes we haven't mentioned, starting off with Demon Hunter, we can see that Void Demon Hunter is actually looking a little bit better after the latest patch, but other than that, everything else looks pretty garbage, like with things like Quest Demon Hunter and such, really does not look that great. As for Mage, Burn Mage can definitely get you some pretty nice quick wins. It did receive a nice little buff for Volcanos and such, but for the most part, it's still not a part of the top 5 meta decks at least, even though it's actually pretty close with very significant sample size and decent win rate to go with it. Quest Mage is also looking pretty strong, especially in skilled hands, albeit with Quest Hunters out there with Vipers included, that might be a little bit problematic for them. There's even Contraband Mage apparently, which is looking kinda interesting. And scrolling down further, things are starting to look not that very amazing. Things like Leyline Mage are barely playable, the rest not so great though. As for Priest, Quest Priest, Azalina Priest, that kind of stuff should be decent. The sample size for them is not that great, even though, look at this, 22,000 games with a not a very good win rate deck, let's not pretend, but definitely a pretty annoying one to be facing, that's for sure. We have another one with 5,600 games, so definitely not a very small sample size, so yeah, I can see plenty of people could be facing this deck and not having a super happy fun time against it too. But fact of the matter is, the win rate for this deck is not that high because the skill cap you need for this to actually work is very, very high. As for Rogue, we can see that some people are still doing crazy good with this class, but the sample size for both of these decks is actually pretty small, so there's that. Aya Rogue looks playable, playable, but nothing too crazy just yet. Herald Rogue, Troublemaker Rogue even is still playable, even though with the nerf to Jade Guardians, that was actually pretty insane, going all the way up to 5, definitely slows it down a little bit too much, but honestly, I'm not against it. We can also check out Warlock, and Hand Warlock is looking pretty scary with this version, even though the sample size for it is hella small, and this is Hand Rafam Warlock. We can also see another version with very big win rate actually. Scrolling down further, we can start seeing some bigger, better sample size decks, but the win rate for them is starting to fall. This again is going to be a Rafam deck, and here's really the first really big sample size deck with impressive win rate, again a Rafam deck, so it's actually looking pretty strong. Like Warlock is actually looking a lot better than I remember it, so definitely give it a check. And lastly, we can see that Warrior is having some pretty good Dragon Warrior action going on right now. Like this one almost could have made it into the top 5, but it just has barely 500 plus games with very good win rate, let's not pretend, but it's just a Dragon Warrior in the end of the day, so not exactly very interesting to talk about it. So we do have a very big sample size Dragon Warrior deck with 56 plus win rate, which is definitely decent, definitely worth playing if you want to be hitting easy legend, especially on a budget. So that's gonna be it for this top 5, guys. I will definitely give you an updated top 5 once the new class sets come out tonight, but I'm gonna be waiting a couple of days so we can actually see how the meta starts shifting. Hope you found the video helpful still, and if you did, a like and subscribe would be great, and don't forget to check me out live on stream each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and consider joining the members so you can actually watch my Twitch VODs from YouTube as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.